When you lived in the forest, you ate bat. How was it? Mostly burnt, and it would have tasted a lot better with spice. There's not a lot of meat on bat. And it actually, when you get the bat, well, it was a flying fox to be accurate. It was a flying fox. They smell very urine-y. There's a lot of urine, and you can smell it. What did they taste like? I could taste the urine. I wouldn't say it tasted like chicken, definitely not. It was a soft meat. There wasn't a lot on it. It was quite a moist meat, and I would wrap them in their wings and then wrap some palm leaves around them to cook them. And then towards the end, I'd just throw them in the coals for a couple of minutes just to try and finish them off. Now, I have an email from 11-year-old Jack from Adelaide, and he has asked a couple of questions. Okay. He asks, was it a struggle to find firewood considering how wet the forest was and how much it rained? No, Jack, it wasn't very difficult to find firewood. There's a lot of trees in a rainforest, a lot of hardwood trees, and a lot of deadfall. And if you've ever gone for a walk in a rainforest, you'll notice you're always tripping over branches that have dropped out of the trees. And I would lay there of a night, and sometimes I would hear a branch drop and hit the ground. And I think to myself, I'll go and get that tomorrow morning. Sometimes after a big rain and a big wind, there'd be lots and lots of deadfall on the ground where the branches have just fallen from the trees and on the ground. So there was plenty of wood. There was never a shortage of wood, and I had lots of different types of wood. Mixing your wood is really important as well, because you can get different smokes, different heats from the way you mix your wood. Jack's also asked another question, or he's asked two more questions, but was the forest that you made when you were trapped in the closet much like the forest you went into? Okay. Jack's listened to my story or my conversation with Richard Feidler, where I talk about being in an orphanage and where I was punished and I'd be locked in under the stair closet. And what I did was I created a world in my mind, another reality in my mind to help me get through those times that I was locked up under the staircase. And one of the things I did is I created a forest in my mind. And the forest I ended up living in when I was about 35, there were a lot of similarities. There were quite a few similarities. Trees, beautiful creatures, birds, lots of different birds, little creek running through the forest, lots of ferns and lots of mosses. I didn't understand the difference between all the mosses and the algae when I was in the orphanage, but I did learn about them, all the different mosses and fern and algae when I was in the forest. So very similar, Jack. The forests were very similar, except in the rainforest there were no reindeers or deers or things like that. And in my mind, in the forest under the stairs, there were little deers and other little creatures that don't necessarily live in Australia. Okay, so now Jack did ask another question. Did you catch fish out of the creek to eat? No, Jack. The little creek in the rainforest wasn't really big enough to have fish. There were a couple of tiny little, 1 centimetre fish, but they weren't big enough to eat. There was a beautiful, or a couple of beautiful crayfish, like a freshwater lobster. Very, very beautiful, very blue they were, and they had some iridescent colour in them. And I thought they were very, very special. And I chose not to eat them. I chose just to appreciate them, and I look for food elsewhere. So no, I didn't catch fish and eat in the forest. And thank you for your questions, Jack.